What you're about to hear is the bone-chilling story of a murder that took 16 years to solve. The motive will shock you. When Michelle O'Keefe set out on the 22nd of February 2000 to star in a music video that was supposed to be a stepping stone to her career in entertainment, she had no idea it would be the last time she ever saw her family again. Michelle O'Keefe, an 18-year-old college freshman and aspiring actress, and her friend Jennifer Patterson traveled to LA to appear in a Kid Rock music video. On their way home after shooting the video, Michelle told her friend that she had a night class and wanted to change her clothes in her car. Jennifer obliged and saw Michelle enter her blue Mustang before leaving the parking lot. That would be the last time Jennifer would see her friend. This is the story of the mysterious death of Michelle O'Keefe. If you're a fan of true crime documentaries, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons for more. Now, let's continue. Michelle O'Keefe was not very different from your average 18-year-old, other than the perks that she was a cheerleader, had a great personality, and everyone loved her. She had friends who looked out for her, and her family loved her very much. She was also a brilliant student, and her life was as good as it gets. The day of Michelle's death started like any other day. She was a college freshman, and her morning classes were over. Michelle dreamed of becoming a Hollywood actress and had been trying her hands out at filming. That February, she and her friend Jennifer Patterson landed a nice gig later that day in Los Angeles. It was a walk-on role for a Kid Rock music video, and she'd informed her mother about the gig. She had planned to go to LA, do her work, and return home to her night classes. Unfortunately, that's not what happened. On the morning of February 22, 2000, Michelle met up with her friend Jennifer, and they both drove up to Los Angeles for the music video. They had changed out of their regular clothes for the revealing club clothes the video required. It was for a song by Kid Rock named Ba With Da Ba. The video was shot, and a few hours later they were done and were on their way back. It had been a successful day by all accounts, and Michelle just wanted to go to her night classes and call it a day. Michelle had stashed her blue Mustang in a parking lot around 80 miles from her campus. When she and Jennifer got to the parking lot, she told her friend that she wanted to change into proper clothes for her evening class. Jennifer recounts that Michelle had been somewhat self-conscious and uncomfortable with the thought of wearing the clothes from the music video to her night class, so Michelle left Jennifer and then got into her Mustang to change. Jennifer could see Michelle enter her car and could have sworn that the blue Mustang followed her as she went down the highway. But the car hadn't followed Jennifer. Instead, Michelle was in the car when someone shot her at least 4 times. The police arrived within minutes of the shots due to a 911 call. After getting to the dead body, the police searched the parking lot for the killer, but they couldn't find anyone. She was found dead with an earring missing, her phone gone, and blood underneath her fingernails. The police saw that Michelle had sustained 1 bullet wound to the chest and 3 more to the head and neck. There was a deep gash on her head, and her top was only half on, exposing one of her breasts. The police considered 3 possible motives for the tragic murder: sexual assault, robbery, or carjacking. The police ruled out each one for the following reasons. They didn't think it was rape because it seemed the murderer struck while she was changing her clothes. It also didn't seem like a robbery because the police found $111 in her wallet. It didn't seem to be a carjacking either, as the car was left behind. The police first had to inform Michelle's parents, and when they arrived at their house, both her mom and dad were awake. They'd been waiting for her, but instead had to deal with the news that their daughter had died. The case was a difficult one to investigate. The police had no leads, no smoking gun evidence, and no suspects. Michelle hadn't been involved in gang rivalry, didn't have anyone who hated her enough to kill her, and generally didn't seem like the sort of kid to wind up in high-risk situations. Yet she'd ended up dead. Even the security guard who had called 911 hadn't seen Michelle herself. There were no fingerprints, no eyewitnesses, no DNA evidence, nothing. It was the hardest sort of crime to solve. The only odd bit of information that the police knew at that early stage was that she mentioned dying over a year before the incident. Michelle had told her father she was certain she would die before him and challenged him to a bet, but that suspicion was little help to the investigators trying to unravel her death. Since Michelle had been in a Kid Rock music video, her death became a matter for local news. There was even a billboard with her face asking people with information to come forward. After about a year, the police were no closer to solving the case. Frustrated by the lack of leads, her father consulted a psychic who told him that his daughter's killer was a large, fair man named Leon or Lee. Coincidentally, the name of the security guard who had first heard the gunshots was Leo Jennings. To further complicate matters, Leo's statement to the police had a few inconsistencies. For one, he'd mentioned that when he saw Michelle, she appeared to have a pulse, which the autopsy proved was impossible. Jennings had also stated in his testimony that he had believed that Michelle was a prostitute when he saw her body due to her semi-clad state. This statement proved problematic for him later. Michelle's father hired a litigator who sued Jennings' security company for her death and put Jennings on the stand. The litigator said he believed that Jennings had committed the murder based on the statements he'd given. Very soon, pressure began to mount on the police to make an arrest. And 5 years later, on his return from a military posting to Iraq, Jennings was picked up by the police and charged with Michelle's death. The police theorized that this Army veteran had made a sexual advance towards Michelle, proven by his statement that he thought she was a sex worker. They alleged that she had rebuffed his advances and shot her out of annoyance. The police argued that the fact that Jennings had first called his supervisor before calling the police meant that he had something to hide. From the onset, it was clear that there was something wrong with the arguments the police were making. For one, the police did not test Jennings' uniform for gunshot residue on the night of the murder. That's probably why the jury for Jennings' first trial reached a deadlock. The same thing happened to his second trial, and he was only declared guilty by the third jury that saw his case. When the jury finally convicted Jennings of second-degree murder, the O'Keefe family read deeply moving impact statements that condemned Jennings. Mitchell's brother read from the Bible and said Jennings belonged to the devil. In his statement, Jennings continued to maintain his innocence.
I'm at peace in my life, and I laugh and I smile because I hold no remorse because I didn't kill your sister. That is the bottom line. I don't ask any mercy from this court because I know I don't have any coming. I will take my time, and I will hold my head up as a man. My 5 children will know who their father is, and they will know he is not a murderer.
And he said he would forgive the O'Keefes when the true killer was found. That would only happen 11 years after Jennings' conviction. After his conviction, Jennings did all he could to appeal the judgment. The California Supreme Court declined his case, and Michelle's murder starred in a TV show. This TV show would eventually set off a chain of reactions that would lead to Jennings' freedom. The first beam of hope in Jennings' case appeared when a man called Clinton Ehrlich, who was a law student, saw the episode of Michelle's murder on a TV special. The case intrigued him, and he began investigating the circumstances that led to Jennings' sentencing. During his investigations, he discovered that Jennings couldn't have been guilty of the crime, so he sent a 34-page report analyzing his findings to the district attorney's conviction unit. In his report, he gave the following reasons as to why Jennings couldn't have been guilty. First, he said that forensics hadn't tested Jennings' uniform for gunshot residue. Secondly, he argued that Jennings owned a .38 caliber handgun and was unarmed, while the gun that shot O'Keefe was a 9mm weapon. Thirdly, he stated that Jennings' DNA didn't match the sample of blood found under Michelle's fingernails, and the prosecutor had misled the jury into thinking the sample was contaminated. Clinton added that the claim that Michelle's death wasn't the result of an attempted robbery didn't also hold up to scrutiny because her purse had been hidden from view, whereas her phone was missing. It was possible that the thief just didn't see her wallet. Lastly, he argued that the police hadn't investigated other people who could have been present at the park when the killer shot Michelle. These claims were not only correct, but they were also damning as they revealed extreme prejudice on the part of the police. The district attorney's office quickly swung into action to investigate the claims. On investigating more closely, the office discovered that a young black couple known for gang-related activities had been in the parking lot around the same time Michelle died. This couple was called John and Jane Doe by the police.
The state knew that he wasn't the only one there, a person that has been since identified that we'll call him John Doe number 1, who was a convicted carjacker, a gang member, who had done home invasion robberies, and who used a 9mm pistol, which is the same kind of pistol used in the killing.
The police also discovered that the young black male, who was part of the couple in the parking lot that night, had gone on to perpetrate a series of home invasions and carjackings, including the gunpoint theft of a Ford Mustang, for which he got a sentence of 31 years in prison. When the police arrested John Doe, he was wearing an earring that matched Michelle's and was missing from her body at the time of her murder. Lastly, the police ballistics evidence suggested that the weapon used to kill Michelle was the same kind that John Doe's gang members used for their crimes. Based on those facts, the district attorney withdrew the case against Jennings, and he was found factually innocent of the crime of killing Michelle. Finally, the police solved the case of Michelle O'Keefe's murder and brought the actual criminal to justice. Unfortunately, Leo Jennings had already spent 11 years behind bars for a crime he didn't commit.
I just breathed a sigh of relief. I exhaled, and I was very thankful that it finally came down.
While the senseless murder of a teenager in her prime is enough to chill anyone to the bone, the thought that an innocent man would have served the punishment for it while the actual killer roamed free makes the thought even worse. Thankfully, justice was served, albeit a little late. Don't forget to click the like and subscribe button so that we can keep bringing you videos like this. Stay tuned.